assumed or speculated just how hectic things would get once things got done. What has it been like so far for you in these last few days?
Well, it's been really, really busy. Early mornings, late nights, which is, pretty routine, as we all know, for spring training. But it's, I guess it's just a different level of intensity, just because of all the discussions that have opened up with the 29 other teams, and certainly possible free agent signs, and whether it be on the minor league level or the major league level, it's just really intensified. And of course, it's, I don't anticipate us getting involved with a lot of the high dollar free agents at this point in time, but nonetheless, we're renewing some of the communication that has been absent through this past winter.
And I wanted to, you mentioned it, so I wanted to follow up there, just in terms of just the roster as it stands now. Are you expecting to be pretty active in terms of looking to add to that, or is it going to be more of a slower I mean, obviously everything's condensed, so I don't know how slow the process could be, but
yeah, Lynn, when we last all spoke, one of the things we talked about is the importance of us staying disciplined with this current group of players. And that doesn't mean we're not going to, look for ways to supplement our talent. We will, but as you know, our roster is at 40, and it's a very young and talented roster with more players and pitchers on the horizon. And so we're going to be very disciplined with who we bring in, what we add. I think right now Major League Camp has 61 players, which is probably the fewest we've had in a long time, maybe since 15 or 16, truthfully. And so, but we're comfortable. We're comfortable with who we have in camp. We're comfortable with the level of talent. One of the things that has been, very reassuring is the majority of our players. In fact, I can't think of one right now, especially with the pitchers, most concerned about the pitchers, that haven't been working extremely hard. They've all thrown multiple side sessions, multiple live BPs, whether it be in Arizona or Florida or in their community, and having access to high school and colleges. And of course, it's a different level of intensity, as we all know, once you put on the Royals uniform and begin your day in a major league clubhouse. But nonetheless, they've been doing the work, and they're very prepared, once we begin camp this Monday.
Bye.
Hey, Dayton. I feel like saying congratulations. I guess it seems like a sort of moment it is. I'm curious if you could take us through a little bit of what Lynn kind of asked about, but when it first broke that it was back on, obviously you knew you were going to have to be prepared to pounce, but was it relief, joy, got to get to work? And I'll have one other thing to ask you about after that.
Well, we're very optimistic at several times, throughout the negotiations process. And I think we all were. And of course, you never know how things are going to unfold, and because we're not sitting at the table. A lot of the things that information we have is similar to what you have, what you read, and what you're able to hear through, different contacts, et cetera. And so, we were really optimistic a few times, and then we got our hearts broke. And then, but I could tell, once they entered into that last and final session, if you will, before they were able to get an agreement, I think there was a renewed sense of optimism that everybody felt that, we were going to be able to come to an agreement. And, the hard work that everybody put in was really amazing. And I thought for the most part, there's a lot to be proud of with regard to how everybody, rolled their sleeves up and went to work for the good of the game. And I think that's a strong predictor for the future of our game. And as I've said before, I'm always going to bet on players. I'm always going to bet on players to inspire fans to follow this game and to show up at a Major League Baseball game because of who they are, what they're about. They're highly charismatic people that are extremely well at communicating, and they play the hardest game in the world at a very high level. And they inspire fans to want to follow this game. And so that's what I'm always going to bank on. And I can only speak for our owner and John Sherman, and I know that it's really important for him to be a great steward of the game, to make sure that the Kansas City Royals represent well in our community, in our region, and throughout the game of baseball. And so we have people in place that understand that. And that encompasses a lot of things, Vahe. That encompasses providing a great place for players to play, coaches to coach, people to work, and fans to experience this game and to share this great game with the people that they care about. And so that's always going to be our mission here. And we're going to make sure that message is continually told and followed up on and followed, to be quite frankly. So that's what we're going to continue to demand in this clubhouse and in this organization from every single player that joins us at any level, and certainly anybody who represents us.
Dayton, how did you get the news, and what was like your first minute like when you did? And the last thing, then I'll get out of the way, is, do you feel like there's some ground you got to make up with fans?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you're always fighting for your fans, no matter what the circumstances are. I think that's what that's our role. That's what we do, and we're competing every single day for our fans and the people that count on this game to provide for their families. And that doesn't simply mean the people that work in Major League Baseball. That's everybody who benefits from this game. Those of you on this call, certainly anybody who has some financial gain or some financial risk associated with this game of baseball. I mean, from our groundskeepers to the vendors to everybody involved, our sponsors. I mean, we have a professional obligation to continue to fight for their respect and credibility, and we'll continue to do that. And that hasn't changed since I got in the game, Vahe, regardless whether we are in a difficult period of time, whether it be labor relations, whether it be COVID, whether it be 9/11, whatever the circumstance that our country and this community are dealing with. I mean, it's no different than the people in our community that are experiencing some type of hardship. We want to come alongside of them and compete for them, and to allow them to enjoy the game and get away from whatever they're dealing with. And so that's not going to change. And I don't look at this situation any different than any other situation that I've been a part of in this game.
And sorry, Dayton, how did you get the news, and what was your first?
John called me. John called me, and I talked to him probably 4 or 5 times that day, and he was keeping me abreast of everything that was going on, and of course, as you all know better than any of us, it came out on social media first, and then John called me right afterwards and said, it's just up to the 30 owners to vote on and agree, and once the players had voted to move forward and accept the agreement. So,
Alec Lewis.
Hey, Dayton. You guys, I mean, over the years, you've signed a bunch of minor league arms, but it seems like this year you guys have a ton of them, will have a ton of minor league free agent contract arms in camp. How much has that been a targeted approach for you guys going into this spring?
Well, it has. And, we've talked a lot about that. Obviously, the nature of the lockout and the shutdown, focused forced us rather to focus on, that group of players, that tier of talent. And we wanted to be very aggressive and make sure that we added as much depth as possible. We don't know if it's going to be 13 and 13, 14 and 12. As far as the makeup of our roster, that hasn't been decided as of yet. At least I'm not aware of that at this point in time. I'm certain we'll get that word, I'm sure, rather shortly as we begin, our full season workouts. But, we just wanted to add as much depth as possible.
You mentioned the young arms also and their preparation, but as you look at this spring, how important is their progression going to be for you guys?
Well, I think it's really important because it's time for a lot of our guys to start taking, some steps forward. It's been a very unnatural time. Some of them weren't able to get finished off at the AAA level because of COVID, and we made an advanced decision, or a decision rather, that we were going to, put them on the major league club and give them opportunity to develop. And so, I think in some ways, they're playing a little catch up at times, but I think they're at a point now, certainly mentally, that they know exactly what to expect. And it takes a couple off seasons to figure that out. It really does, just to prepare mentally and physically for what 162 games are about. And of course, we want to be playing in October. And, that's the mindset of Mike and the coaching staff and this group of players. And so, but to do that, for that to take place, for that to occur, we are going to need, a lot of our players to step up and become more consistent and, do some of the little things that you have to do to win Major League Baseball games.
Todd Lebo.
Hey, Dayton, good to see you. Generally speaking, how does the CBA look for the Kansas City Royals? Was this a good thing for you guys with what you see in there?
Todd, I haven't had a chance to really go through it item by item. I know Jen and Scott Sharp are filtering through it, and we plan to sit down at the appropriate time and discuss it and go through it. Simply because, of all the nature of which we've had to intensify, as we build out our roster and supplement our roster. That's been the main focus, opening up the lines of communications with the other 29 teams, opening up the line of communications with the numerous agents that are out there, certainly the communication with our 40-man roster, making sure that, all of our players are ready to go. And there's no issues that we're going to be surprised of when they arrive here in Arizona. So that's been the main focus. I think but there's probably some things in there that are beneficial to markets like ours, and some things that are more challenging. You saw several signings yesterday, players that, some of the not complaining, but there's just certain players that are just not available to us. And, but we've got to focus on our 180 players. That's what we get. Give us the rules and we'll just have to figure out how we make it work. And, we'll work to, fight some of the other battles at a later date that hopefully will, create more of a competitive balance and so forth. But there's no use complaining about it. We've got to look. I've said before, we're never going to complain about our market size. We're never going to complain about what we don't have. If you want to tilt the field in your favor, get as much quality pitching as possible. Make sure you catch the ball. Make sure you got guys that love to play baseball, players that want to be in Kansas City, players that respect one another, and they're going to go out and give their best effort over 162 games. And it doesn't matter what market size that you are in or what your payroll is, you have to have that type of attitude and that type of mindset. Whoever plays baseball the best is going to win games. Let's execute Be relentlessly focused on the fundamentals of this game, and make sure you execute. Make sure you make plays. Make sure you turn double plays. Keep the batter runner off second base. Make sure you execute interior cuts and relays flawlessly. Make sure you run the bases well. You move up on balls in the dirt. You go first to third. You score from second. You catch the balls that you have to. You block balls in the dirt, prevent guys from moving up. I mean, those are the things you have to do to win Major League Baseball games. And I feel like Mike Matheny and the coaching staff do an unbelievable job with that. They are relentless about teaching the fundamentals, and our players in the minor leagues understand that as well. And so whoever plays baseball the best is going to win.
Last one for me. Vahe mentioned work to do with the fans. One of the things that really gets caught up in these battles is the trust between the owners and the players. And that's just kind of how union fights are. You're kind of in the middle of it because you're not an owner, but you represent the owners. You're a fan of the players and a scout. What sort of work is there with the Royals? Or do you feel like you guys are in pretty good shape with the trust between your ownership and your roster?
What I would say to that, Todd, is first of all, I think a lot of the relationship discussions, I think, are somewhat exaggerated at times. At least I can only speak for our organization and what we do. But what I will tell you this, whether you have a great relationship or a not so great relationship, you've got to work at making sure your relationship stays strong every single day. A great relationship today doesn't guarantee a great relationship tomorrow. You have to work at it every single day, not just in baseball, not just in this clubhouse, not just in the front office, every level in your organization, all aspects of community, all aspects of family. You got to work at building relationships every single day. And there's certain fundamentals that exist that make those relationships strong. And you've got to have a group of people that are committed to those fundamentals. And it's putting others first. It's caring about the needs of others and one another, having empathy towards one another, compassion towards one another. And that's how relationships get built. That's how they are strengthened. And it's a partnership. It is a partnership between Major League. If you work in Major League Baseball at any level, it is a partnership. And we've got to look out for all aspects of it to make sure that, we're doing everything we can to continue to push the game forward. That's the way that I've always looked at it. As I've said before, I heard it said once, the key to a great relationship is two people that are willing to forgive at a high level every single day. Those are the things that make relationships strong. And you want a great relationship, you're going to need a couple partners and people that are really great forgivers, and you move on. And I think that's the key.
Dave Screna.
Hey, Dayton. I think a lot of people are probably sick of talking about the business of baseball at this point, and you're probably sick of it too. So I wanted to ask you about the on-field product and what you're looking forward to seeing this spring, whether it's the rotation or Bobby and some of the other young guys that we might see on the field this season.
I so much love watching players enjoy playing this game. There's nothing like that first day, those first couple days when players come together and they haven't seen each other all winter, and they're reconnecting, and the little boy is alive in them. That's what I enjoy so much about, the early days of spring training. And, we all come together. We all share the expectations and the dreams for a great season, regardless of what your record was the previous season, or regardless of what the predictions are. These guys are Major League Baseball players. They've reached the top of their profession. And because they are the very best competitors alive, and they believe in themselves and they believe in one another. And so the key is, how do we maintain that most of the days that we exist in this game in 2022? How do we get rid of the drama quick? How do we stay focused on the things that are important? And spring training really is the precursor for that. Spring training is the opportunity to build that foundation. I wish we had more than 3 weeks to do that. I'm not one of those guys that sits here and says that, spring training's too long each and every year. I've heard that for 29 spring trainings now, and there's always a player or two that wishes they had an extra week because of something they're dealing with. And of course, if you're going good and you're feeling great, you're ready to start after 10 days. But it's baseball's different for everybody. And but the thing that we all, as I said, we all come together this time, and we share the expectations of a great year. And I'm looking forward to watching our players continue to take steps forward in all aspects of what we do. Not only our players, but our coaching staff, our front office. We're all progressing. We're all evolving, and everything we do, we're all continuing to try to learn from one another in all aspects of this game. And that's what keeps us going. I mean, the game forces you to continue to think outside the box. And it's fun to sit with one another and have great baseball discussions and really, talk about, not only the future, but you remember, people and players of the past that have had impact on you. This is the time of year where you really get a great opportunity to reflect back on what baseball means to you and how important it has been for your life. And then also you dream about what it can be in the future.
You mentioned the short spring training, and it's not good for anybody. I get it, but is it less not good for you guys, knowing that so much of your team is coming back intact and any new guys are largely going to come from within the organization?
David, we'll make the best of it. And I think that maybe, we're the fact that we have younger players and that have done so much great work this off season, and they're showing up what appears to be at least what they've communicated to us. We haven't seen them all. They're not all here yet. The majority of them will be in camp later today, or in Arizona later today or tomorrow. And in fact, we anticipate all of our players being in Arizona tomorrow. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. But it all appears, David, that they're in great shape and they're ready to go. And the fact that when you're young and your body's alive and you sleep well at night and you're relatively, just carefree in life at this stage of where you are, I think maybe our guys have a chance to adapt quicker than others. That's what I believe, and that's how much I trust our players.
Pete Greta.
Hey, Dayton, I want to follow up. I got 2 questions. First one's follow up. You talk about how the players reflect on people who made an impact on their life. I mean, at this time, is there anyone you reflect on?
Oh, there's a lot of people. A lot of people here in camp. I had great conversation yesterday with Rusty Kuntz, my good friend and your good friend. And we talk about a lot of things about this game but the players are the ones that inspire us as well. The young players, the players that are trying to, hang on for one more year and they put in all this great work and they're trying to continue to pursue this game at the highest level. And so, there's so many. I'm looking forward to Donnie Williams, one of my mentors, who will be here, in a week or so. And Donnie's in his upper 80s now and originally signed, by the Brooklyn Dodgers way back when, and was a teammate in the minor leagues with Pee Wee Reese. And so it's great to be able to hear the same stories. And of course we miss, Hall of Famer Art Stewart. And, he hadn't been able to be with us, the last few spring trainings, but, that's one of the things that, we'll look forward to celebrating him a little more ceremoniously during this year and have a special day for him and his family.
And I wanted to ask about the expansion of the playoffs, adding another team, what your general thoughts on that are, and you see that impacts the Royals in any way.
Yeah, I think it's healthy for our game. It's such a long season. And as I've said many times, truthfully, to get in the playoffs or be in the playoff hunt, you got to have one great month or two good months and play around 500 the rest of the way. And, sometimes, because of injury, or maybe you have a tough stretch with weather or what have you, or you're just playing some team that's really incredibly hot. It can, you can take your lumps over a month but maybe an expanded playoff gives a team a chance to recover from, some bad luck or some adversity and keeps them fighting and keeps them hungry. So I think ultimately it's probably a positive thing, for our game. That being said, I do believe in the integrity of 162 games. I feel like the best teams do emerge usually over 162 and should be rewarded accordingly. And I think, hopefully, this system will do that.
Steve Physiak.
Yeah, Dayton, were there some silver linings that came out of the lockout? As an example, you mentioned Rusty Kuntz, young outfielders, the opportunity to spend more time with Rusty, or young infielders, the opportunity to spend more time with Rafael Belliard, or guys like Asa Lacy, Alec Marsh, young pitchers to spend time with Paul Gibson and other coaches on your staff?
Yeah, it's a great question, Fizz. And I think so. I think that's always the case. The one thing that I can tell you, when you sit in this chair, you're very focused on process. You have to be very process oriented and make sure you commit to the important things each and every day. And I feel like we've always made the most of whatever we can do, whether it be the opportunities during COVID, whether it be our off-season programs, the instructional league programs. I mean, we have something going on all the time, and we're fortunate to have a coaching staff at all levels that's highly committed and to work with players and to share knowledge. And we never have to sell anybody on showing up and working with players. I mean, we have the right staff, the right mix of people that are always willing to work and share. And our scouts do an unbelievable job of making sure we sign baseball players that want to be great and want to learn and are excited about working with our coaches. And so those pathways have been created to develop the necessary relationship for the coach and the player to come together and have mutual respect for one another. And I think that's one of the things that our front office does as well as you can possibly do to make sure that those pathways are open and that those relationships are off to the type of start that's necessary for players to gain knowledge and to get better and to have that comfort level. And so I think we have and we continue to take advantage of whatever opportunities. If the sun's shining and we have an opportunity to have players around our people, we're going to do that. And we utilize this facility so well. And of course, the fountains, the dormitory that we have now allows many of our players to live here year round, and we encourage that. And so there's always something going on here at the complex. If you want to play baseball, playing with the Kansas City Royals is the right place to be, because we love to play baseball.
Indeed.
Lynn, last one.
Hey, Dayton, I wanted to follow up. Alec had mentioned or asked you about some of the minor league free agent arms you guys had brought in. And I was thinking specifically of some of these recent ones with Brad Peacock and Daniel Mengden, who appear to be guys that sort of help you guys protect maybe some of the young starters. And I was wondering if you feel like you guys will look for more of those types of moves, or if you feel like you got some coverage there.
Yeah, Lynn, I think we'll always be on the lookout. We're going to continue to try to add as much depth as we possibly can. I think it's so important, especially with everything that we've been through over the last couple of years. And you want to obviously protect the health of all your pitchers, but especially the young guys. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure we're going to be able to have the the flexibility to have a 14-man staff to start the season. I've not heard officially one way or the other what's going to happen there. So we got to be prepared for 13 and 13. And of course, there is limits on the number of times you can option players at this point in time. I think 5 is that limit once you get past spring training, once opening day begins, which, seems like a lot, but if you're going through a particularly difficult time and, you're trying to nurse a pitcher or two through without putting them on the IL or having to send them down for development reasons or what have you, or just protecting the integrity of the relationship, it can put you in a tough spot. And so it's important to have as much depth as we possibly can. So we're going to continue to make sure that we do that. As I said before, we have 61 players as I said here today in camp. And, usually we have 4 or 5 more, but we'll see how it goes.
Everybody good? All right. Dayton,
Okay, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Dayton.
Okay, guys. Thank you.